Hello, folks. We're going to take a look at some back testing tonight. Possibly doing some Globex, but I can't stay up all the way through like London tonight because I have to work in the morning at the clinic. I've got a real job, career, whatever you want to call it. And I do work Fridays through Mondays. But I had a really good question from a subscriber who asked about some of my old videos and whether or not I even use all of the signals on the screen, which is a great question, right? Because as you can see, like my algo has evolved quite a bit. Um, when I first started learning last year, I was using just the Trade and Perform algo, which looks like this. I've kept most of these signals, but changed some of them. In Simon's version, this is actually a little square that's green, and the orange is a little square that's white. I have a hard time seeing them, so even on this version of it, I've changed it because my eyes just don't see the tiny little squares personally. I don't have Simon must have great eyes because I can't see it. No one else has complained about it in the room, but I've got old eyes, so I need things to be real clear. But I'm also a very visual person, so like I have said before that I need, like, for instance, basically just training wheels, right? When I'm trading, I don't want to have to draw the lines on these pivots here to determine whether or not we've crossed below it or crossed above it or below it, like here. I don't like if I can't see whether or not we've crossed here. I don't want to have to come here and draw the line and be like, oh, yep, it crossed. It's too. I get why in the room that Simon doesn't want to clutter his charts with too many lines. Totally get that because a lot of people are just trading like one of very many possible setups. And so if you put too many lines on here, it's really hard for people to read, which is totally valid, right? And I think everybody who learns should start with something simple. And even this could be a little bit too cumbersome for a new learner, which is why I've discussed with other members working on creating like a learning tool basically that takes some of the signals out for that you can then add back in slowly. It's something Simon's not real thrilled about because he values all of his signals and they all do have value, and so it's very difficult to decide which ones you take out and which ones you don't. But we've had some discussion about it, and all I can say is if you join the room and you find even this just to be totally overwhelming, talk to me, right? And if you get the algo on your desktop, I will help you simplify it. Okay. The other thing I am happy to do is to help you complicate it, which is what I've been doing. I started with signals that looked here. Let me change it on ES. So when I first started, here we're gonna go to this one. We'll go to the 5-tick. I don't use this very often. So when I first started, I was using the trading this one, right? And then I slowly started adding, although we didn't have the channels. I slowly started adding new ideas, and let me find one of the older ones. Let's see, bear, where is it? Here we go. Okay, so the when I first started adding, it was looking like this, but then like I said, I put back the channel on here, and this one is very simple. It's simplified. Even compared to this, it has less signals, but there are some key things missing from it, right? And that is, yeah, it's okay if you're learning, but eventually you want to be able to have everything you need, that you just decide you need, right? And you don't want the things that you don't need. So one of the things that I took out for this version, I don't know why these aren't deleting, is the outlined, hold on, the outlined green and red. I know the background is different too, that's because it's Globex, but if you look here, let me just get rid of all this stuff because we don't need it to explain this, and we'll redraw it anyway. So every once in a while on my algo, you won't see this on Simon's, but on my algo, I use an outlining feature where I have outlined green bars and red bars, and you can see that they shouldn't happen very often. I've adjusted over the last one. Like I said, this is one of the first signals I actually added, so it's almost been a year, for how often they come up and when they come up. But I want to talk about them real quick because it's something that I used to use a lot, and then started moving away from, even to the point where for sometimes uh, I would take them off completely to see if I could trade without them, because it's always nice to have less on your chart if you don't need it, right? So what they are looking at, and what I want to do tonight, let's just say first of all, is I want to see that now that I've added some other signals, include which are these backgrounds here, which tell me about momentum and whether or not one side of the market is likely to be producing support and resistance. And then I've also recently added these little arrows that go sideways, the blue ones, and there's yellow ones on the other side. We should see them here, right there at the lows. See that? So I've added those two, not as a replacement for anything, but just as another idea. And what I want to know is, with all the, with these extra signals, are my initial original signals, are they helpful, or are they just overwhelming, right? Like, is it too much? Is it adding too many variables to the point where I'm not using them? Because what I'm finding is that the way I used to use these, I don't necessarily watch that as closely anymore. And the other possibility is that now that I have these new signals, it's very possible that this old signal that was working pretty well for a while, but like I said, it's a little challenging. You'll see how to use it. It's not an immediate buy or sell signal. It's actually just a location assistance to identify a micro location, which I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm wondering if I evaluate that again and now take what I know about these new signals, this arrow and the backgrounds that are either pink or purple, are they, like I said, could it be something that I didn't know before, but now I can identify it quickly? That might be a really good reason to keep them on my chart. And then a reason to take them out would be that perhaps same uh, the same signals are just being, if it's just basically repeating the same signal, I don't need both of them, right? If it's not giving me any additional information or helping me make decisions, then it's just getting in my way, right? And so you always want to be evaluating your system about whether or not it's too challenging to follow, or is it missing out on signals that maybe you could be using. And so, like I said, when I use this one, which has a bunch of signals missing, including the outlined bars, I do trade some trades better, is what I found. But I miss a ton of really good trades. The primary trade I miss when I'm trading this like pared down version of my algo, the primary trade looks like it's a classic trade, and it uses here. I'll show it to you on Simon's, because this is like the way we all learned it. So let me show it to you on NQ, because the we're going to be looking at NQ on the other one too. So on NQ, the rules are primarily the same, but the idea is it's called a trap trade, and what we want to see is a pivot, right? Which is on Simon's. I'll go. It's this little blue, like baby blue, triangle here, and so we want to see a spot where a pivot was traded behind by only one bar or just a wick, but no more than one bar, right? It can close behind, but you can't close a second bar, only one, and then the next one has to be a wick, or this one has to be a wick, and then it trades back in. And preferably, what I like to have is that either this bar is the best to be pink, or one of these bars should be pink. But I really prefer when this one is pink, or technically when this one's pink, it's okay. So On Simon's, what I generally, now this one's kind of obvious, you can just see it, but what I generally need to do is draw a line, and then as I'm approaching it, as the market approaches it, I watch to see did I get one close above that or two, and then the second part is I can't enter until we close a bearish bar back past that line. So that would be, the entry would be right here, and the target would be 10 points lower to 15 points lower, and I get most of my risk off here because it's trading in balance. So that's the trade, and when I do it on my algo, it's actually easier to see for me anyway, because I've added these lines that are either green or red, that are these lines here, and they are attached to all of the pivots, which are, like I said, called power bars in the trading perform room. Mine look like these little sideways triangles, what I call flags. And the reason I use the flags instead of the other triangles is because there's a additional signal that's a triangle that goes up and down. And so when I would say, I would call this an up triangle and this a down triangle, because that's the lingo that Simon uses. Well, on Simon's, you could think that this is an up triangle because it's a triangle pointing up, right? But for what he actually means is this. And so other people were getting confused when I talked about up and down triangles, and I was getting confused just looking at it. So that was one of the first things I changed. Was I just realized, you know what, I don't need those to be triangles. They can be anything I want them to be. I do need to know where they are because they show me where the pivots are, and that's extremely important for this trap trade. But yeah, I decided I didn't want that same signal, and so that's kind of one of the things I wanted to change right away. And then, like I said, when I do it this way and I have to draw the line, it's fine when it's this obvious, but there'd be situations like this where, like, my eyes can't easily identify whether or not we've actually traded underneath any of these lows. Yours might, right? But when it's this low, it's pretty obvious, right? It's a lot easier just to kind of like, oh, let me see, I'll just draw a line, right? Like, no problem. Like, nope, have not gotten under that. And this one, it looks like we traded under it by 1 tick. See how close that is? Like, that would be really hard for me to tell without having that a line there. And if it's moving really fast, I might miss the trade. And again, the trade isn't on this bar. Or sorry, it is. It's not on this bar where you draw the line. It's on the bar that trades below the line and comes back up, right? That's where the entry is. So you could technically have plenty of time to draw that line. That's not the problem, unless it's going really fast. You could draw that line anytime. And I think for many people in the room, drawing the lines keeps them attentive to what's going on. They'll draw the line here. They're prepared for the trade. It's keeping them from like shorting on the way up. They know exactly what they need to see, which is this to get short. It happens and they get it, right? And it's so that like active participation where you're moving that pivot line from one to the next. Some people really need that, right? And if that's you, like, just don't change the algo, right? But when I tried to do that, what I would do, and like I said, and especially if I was reviewing, and I was looking at something like this that doesn't have the lines at the lows and the highs, is I would just miss them. So like I would forget to even draw the line, and I would miss all sorts of trades, and then I would tilt when I noticed it, right? So like a good example is like right here, right? So let's say we draw that line. It I think it at least met it, if not crossed it. And so if I would have missed this, and we trade, like, if this happens really fast, because it probably did, right? 10:13 to 10:16. This took 3 minutes, right? So you really had to be on your game, be ready for that trade, know you were looking long, and be ready to enter with your dome open and your finger on the trigger right there within 3 minutes, right? And like I said, that for some people, it's like, that's not a big deal. I don't take that many trades. I just want the good ones, right? So I've got locations and all these other things that I need to happen for a trade. Well, if this was up to location, but I just wasn't really paying attention and I didn't notice this, and then it runs like this, I would get tilted. And what I'd end up doing is I'd forget to draw this line too, and then I'd miss this one, and then I'd miss, right? Like it would be like and then there's another one here, right? Like there's all these spots where I could, like, make mistakes. There we go. Simply because, no, this one actually failed. Simply because I wasn't keeping up with all of these lines. And of course, the way you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to move the line so you don't have too many lines on your chart. And then it would be the entries here, right? and you get short, and even if you took this one here, and if that didn't really meet um, your target and you lost 15 points or whatever, you'd make it up and then some here, right? That's kind of the idea of the trade. But for me, like I said, it was hard to keep up with. I would just, it always seemed like when I wasn't moving the line, that's when they would bounce it or reverse it, and I'd get tilted and frustrated. So I was like, okay, I just need to like master that trade. And so I built like training wheels for that trade, which was basically these lines here, right? So now the my algo, the Sierra chart, prints these green lines for me, and when we interact with another bar, they stop extending. Now this one started a new one because this was another pivot, but that wouldn't happen right away. That's only once this pivot is formed and stuff, right? But I could immediately be aware of the fact that this I wouldn't have to draw this line, and I would know as soon as I saw this coming in here that we're approaching a pivot, and I would know even though it's only by a tick, it's very clear that the low is broken there, and so that if I was looking long here, that would be a valid long, right? And I don't have to do any drawing. I can just zoom in right here. And now the other thing that I like about having the lines, I know it's a lot on a lot of people's eyes when you're not used to it, but I can also see that there's another pivot from some time in the past right below us, as well as this one, right, that have not yet been hit. And as you know, or as you should know, pivots, highs and lows of any time frame generally have a good chance of having liquidity sitting behind them, right? So the reason why this trade works, like when you cross these red lines and you go a little higher and then you suddenly see an aggressive move down, the reason why that's a good short is because this pivot is people put their stops above that when they sell here. And so when those stops get sucked up and there's just and the market goes up, but if there's no follow through, if there's no real buyers and the only reason the market went there was just to suck up these stops, guess what happens? The shorts come back in, right? And so you can do that on any time frame, including these tiny time frames, and this is just a 24 Renko chart. And the great thing about the small time frame is your entry in this case, for instance, would be 68, let's say, and your stop would have to go at 82.50 maybe. So you're not even talking 15 points, maybe 15 max is usually all I really risk. And the potential is to bring it all the way down to the next pivot down, right? So I can look at these lines not only as potential entries if we what we call trap behind them, but also as a target. So if I would have sold there, since I already have a line drawn here, even if I couldn't see this pivot, right, and it was from like long ago, like this one, I know where to take my profits, right? Because I know there's a good chance there's stops sitting back there, and when those stops get hit, the market's going to bounce for a little while. It might not stay up, but could it go 15 points higher? Yeah, right? It's just going to go from liquidity point to liquidity point back and forth, especially when it's balanced and it's not trending. So I find the lines very helpful. Some people find them very distracting, and that's including my coach and a lot of people in the room, and that's why they use something simpler without them. And like I said, if that's you, that's fine. You just stick with what everybody else uses, and draw the line, wait for the trap back in, and then when you get a new pivot, you just move it, right, and then move it, and then you eventually will find your trades that way, and it won't clutter the screen to the left, right? You'll only have the lines where you're trading now. And for some people, that's very important because they get distracted by the other lines. For me, it's actually quite the opposite. Like, I need to see the lines to stay confident with my trade. Otherwise, I hesitate and I don't see the potential. Like, I will, if we're sitting right here, right? Here, I'll show it to you on this one. So, what time is this? 20:42. Okay. Oh, let's see. So it's current. All right. So let's say we're sitting right here, and you don't have all these lines down here drawn, right? I will hesitate here sometimes, and wonder where am I really fight like where's my target, right? I see that it's a valid trade because I drew this line, but before I enter, I want to make sure that I actually have a chance of getting 15 points. Now here, I see the pivot, it's right here, so it might not be that hard. But sometimes like the target that you're looking for is way back, right? Like let's say it's like this, or you've been moving really big range, you might not easily see it, and that moment of hesitation of being like, wait, do I have good risk reward here? Because you can't tell where your exact exit is and you don't know where to put your target. It was costing me trades and it was making me tilt. And then, especially once it hit this and bounced, I'm like, oh my god, why did I just put my target right there? All I had to do is just measure it, figure out what that level was, and just put my stop like a point above it, and I'm gonna get hit a lot, right? Like it's not that hard, but would I do it in the trade? No, I'm sorry, I wouldn't, right? Like I should have, but I wouldn't always do it. And so I'd miss it. And then and if I did get it in, I wouldn't necessarily take profit there. And if it bounced, I'd end up stopping out and not get paid for being right. And that all of that was just frustrating. So I'm just like, okay, those lines need to be there one way or another. For me, I need them. For many of you, it's going to be distracting, and I apologize for that. But for me, when I'm trading, and I'm zoomed in to the far right edge of the chart, I want those reminders there that there's liquidity sitting right behind here, and so therefore, that's a good target for me to either like hit if I'm short, or else if we trade under it and bounce back up, I know that I've got a big pocket here of potential support, and so therefore it makes the longs better as well. So both of those things are why those lines are there. But like I said, the question that I had from another the question from the viewer was why do you need a line every time you have a pivot, right? And so that was the answer to that. But what it made me realize is that I also have a lot of other things on the chart that I haven't been as consistent with using, because I used to use them and now I haven't. So one of those, like I said, is the green outline, which is here, and then the other is the red outline. Those are inverse signals, okay? The red outlines like this will only happen on bearish bars. The green outlines will only happen on bullish bars. I built this, and so I built that signal, not all of them. Obviously, I didn't build any of these, right? But I built this signal because what I started to notice was that when we would print one of these bars, and we developed volume behind them, that we'd often see trend changes on a micro time frame, especially if those bars were what we call out of position. And so an out of position bar is, let me find one, I'll show you. It would be a green bar at the top of the channel or above the channel, or a red outline bar at the bottom or below the channel. So let me find one quick. So this is in the middle, it's not that bad, but if it's above that, it's out of position. So looking for green outline bars. See, these are almost out of position, but they're okay because the VPOC, the yellow line here, stays under the midpoint. So that's okay. They doesn't happen very often, but when it does, you'll see them get trapped. Ooh, this is really close. Real close to out of position. Keep looking. I might miss one. They don't happen very often, but when they do, there's a really obvious trade, and you'll see it when it shows up. Right, really fucking close. This one's really see where the midpoint is this gray line. If we can get the yellow line above the gray line on a green outline candle, it's out of position. Or the red one getting down here underneath it is out of position. Once that happens, there we go, right here. Out of position, green bar. So that is a potential trapped trader, okay? When we get behind him, meaning we develop volume below the low. So this one I'd have to draw the line, right? And like I said, before I had the additional algos, I was drawing lines a lot. So we'd put the line here, and we'd say if we can develop real volume below it, that the chances that this up here becomes resistance because he's trapped is increased significantly. So what does it mean to develop volume behind a trap trader? For me, with the algo, it's printing any bar in the opposite direction that's not pink or purple, okay? Pink and purple bars are signs of price going somewhere without support of aggressive traders, right? So when you get purple bars going down to a pivot low, or pink bars, these are in the middle, but if it goes up to a pivot high, like this, or this, right? Or this, all of these pink bars at the top of these moves, right? These rotations, the pink bars at the top and the purple bars at the bottom are a sign that price is moving, of course, right? They're Renko bars, so it only closes up here if price got there before it got down wherever it would have closed if it was bearish. So price got up there, but volume was not confirming price, and there's no aggressive traders supporting the move. Now, it doesn't always have just because you see a pink bar doesn't mean it's always going to go bearish, and just because you see a purple bar doesn't mean it's always going to go bullish, right? Like here, you might get an attempt to go bullish, but you run into resistance and trap traders, and they just kill it. So you can't just buy purple bars and sell pink bars. I wish it was that easy, but it's not, right? You have to understand if you're going to use, if you want to understand how they work, you need to understand the market dynamics and what phase you're in. Thankfully, you don't actually have to know that to trade with the algo. You just have to memorize a couple patterns, right? So, for instance, if you're bearish, seeing pink bar immediately followed by an orange bar is usually pretty bearish. See that? These orange bars are going to be great spots to sell as long as there's pink bars behind them. That gets the odds of that continuing lower get even higher if you can trade above a red line first on my algo, or above a pivot, right? And then you print an orange. So, for instance, at the very end, chart end, we saw this recently tonight. Chart end here. It wasn't pink. So if this was pink, that'd be a good example because you broke above this line. If you printed a pink bar and then an orange bar, that'd be an easy sell, right? Let me find one. Purple bar with green bar would be another one. So here's the high odds trade, purple bar followed by green bar at location, right, at support. Good trade. Better would be if we traded under this green line and then came back with purple bar, green bar. As you'll see though, when you get underneath the green line, sometimes you don't even need the purple bar and just the green bar is enough. But if you do get it, the chances are it's going to work more often than it won't. Let me see if I can find one. It shouldn't happen very often, but when it does, it's going to be good. Right here, red line indicating a pivot, trades a pink bar, trades behind it, and then we close with an orange bar. That's going to be a fantastic short because you can put your stop right here and your entry goes here, and you basically just hold it all day long, right? That's going to work a ton, like literally over 70% of the time, right? The only time it's not going to work is when you're screaming in the other direction and everybody's trapped. This one was really close. See how close that was to breaking some pivot from the past. I have no idea how old that is, and it doesn't really matter. But this was actually the low of the day on Friday. And you can see it got really close to that liquidity, and it just couldn't take it. Now we've traded under it, of course, and that makes sense. But this one had purple bar, green bar as well. Just no pivot break. And let's see if I can find one more. And in the meantime, I'm going to look for that. Okay, so this one didn't quite reach the pivot, but it did give you pink bar, orange bar, rolled over. This one, so this is the next best thing. You break below a pivot, or the green bar, right, or these little flags, and then you turn around and you get a star or a green bar, and there was a purple bar either here or here. That's actually pretty good too, right? So those are just classic trade and perform algos. If you're in the trade and perform room, you already know about these, and you know how to find them, and you've probably used them and know they work a lot, right? I already have those in my repertoire. But what I wanted to show you are these green and red ones that are out of position. When you get, so here's the one we had out of position. The purple bars, like I said, are not necessarily going to, now this was more than one purple bar, but it's not necessarily enough to convince me that we're immediately going lower. But we did trade below the low. And so generally what I'm going to be watching for is for this guy, basically, and anybody trading higher than him, potentially on that rotation, potentially getting trapped. Okay, so we're going to mark off. It's usually from their point of control. up to the, come here, kitty, up to the pivot. And then what you would do, so if we were here, I would know this was the case right there because we got underneath his low, right? Now in this case it didn't. Technically what we want is we want the point of control, this little yellow line, to trade below it on a what's it called, on a bearish bar. The only reason this worked is because it's out of position. You can actually do this on any green bar, but on the out of position ones you get a lot more leeway. Even if it doesn't actually fit perfectly, it still works a lot, right? Because it's out of position, it's already it's vulnerable to being trapped, right? You don't know for sure it's trapped until you can get this yellow line getting below the low on a bearish bar. So technically that didn't happen yet, but it's probably going to happen, right? It might not be right away. It's not time to short yet, right? But it's time to start thinking about the fact that these guys are probably trapped and to look for a trade and perform entry. So now what I would look for is for this area up here to act as resistance. So we wait, there. So there's the trap, right? Trades slightly above it, right? Traps back in with a red outline bar. Perfect, right? So, and this bar is clearly not out of position. It's in the best position possible. It's at the very top of a potential down wave and clearly above the midpoint of the channel, right? So now this guy, it confirms that this star bar with the green outline, this up bar, and then the wick of this star bar, all of these guys have the potential to get trapped here, okay? And when, so it was already a trade and perform entry. You don't need the green bar to know this, but it can alert, I built it to alert me that the trend itself may actually be shifting here. And all we need to do to see that is to see if we can get a POC below the low, right? Now, like I said, here was a purple bar, but it was out of position, so it may not matter. And so now we're going to see, would this be a good place to sell? Let's see if they can get some volume developed below it. So see, this one didn't quite get volume developed below the line. So we don't know for sure. If they save it right here. Okay, so now we exit, right? If we aggressively shorted this, we exit. If we're conservative, we wait until you get that confirmation that you got a real bearish bar with aggression, not a purple bar, underneath his low. Right? You could also use this guy's low because he's also green. So let's leave it here. And let's see if we can now, again, find sellers up here. Because if he's trapped, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see sellers waiting to get short up there. So that is not what buyers want to see. That's not a good sign for buyers, and it's definitely a good sign for us. If you were short here and you didn't cover, you're now excited that it's probably going lower. It's a little bit too low for me to short outright. But it probably does go lower. Let's see. Yeah, so it goes just a little bit higher and then rolls over with the pink bar followed by the red outline bar again. So again, this whole area is clearly acting as resistance, right? And if you've got your stop up here, there's really no pressure on that short. But we do have another green bar to contend with. Although if you see his low is higher than this low. So what we can do is move it up, and now we can say if we can get a bearish POC below that low, we know the trend can probably change. So let's see if they do it. Almost. Right, yeah, it's purple bar. So technically, price is below, but we don't have any aggressive traders supporting that low. So we really need one more bar. There we go. Okay, so see how this one's bearish. It's not purple. And the yellow line is clearly below the low, in this case, of this green bar, which wasn't out of position, but is still a green bar, and then this green outline bar as well, which was clearly, it's also got the VPOC, the yellow line underneath that one, right? Generally, in the past anyway, when I was using this signal, this is where I would now stop buying. Okay, so it's not necessarily a short signal right away. Technically, that would have been back here. But when you were kind of like suspected that it was going to become a trap area. But now I certainly don't want to I don't want to bother scalping back to the upside because I know that this is resistance. It confirms that there are trap traders here. And if we can return there, it's probably a pretty good short. in addition, now that we've gotten this underneath here, any orange bar is probably a good short. I was thinking this was the case for this one, but I had forgotten that we had not actually developed volume below it because of this purple bar. It had no aggressive push to the downside. Price went down, and sellers just buyers gave up, causing price to fall. But there wasn't really any aggression supporting that. So in this case, now there is, because it's no longer a purple bar. Now they might try to bounce it, and that would be great because it would give us an opportunity to add to our short. But the other thing we can now do is if we shorted here at the yellow arrow, which is usually a pretty good idea, right here, right? It's a little aggressive, but you've probably dropped that out because the reason why it's a good idea is because he was out of position. He was very, very aggressive into the high of the channel, and what the green outline bar is telling us is that at the very lows here, down here, they actually traded beyond the like where you would expect the support to be, and they found more buyers there than sellers, right? So, and like I said, I'm not going to go into all the like specifics. I don't really want you to like recreate the wheel here, but if it helps you understand like why is it even green, like what does it even mean? What's happening is price is rising, but during this bar, price actually got down below here, below where you would expect price to go, and based on like whatever's happening here, and yet closed higher, right? So that's why every green outline bar will actually be bullish, and why every red outline bar will actually be bearish. So in this case, for instance, we would have expected that price getting any higher, price getting this high should have probably resulted in a bullish move, but instead they closed it bearish. And what you'll see is when these red ones get beat right away, or when the green ones get beat right away, that's actually a beautiful scalp. But because of the way it works, because it shouldn't happen, right? Think about it. You've got the market moving far enough where most of the time price goes higher, yet we got a pullback, right? That shouldn't happen very often. And when it does, you really don't know what's going to happen until you see the next bar, right? You have to see how the market responds to it. But if the market responds by attacking that high, well, then that just confirms that the momentum is actually increasing. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to go a lot higher, but it means that this guy is about to be trapped, right? And depending on where he is in the channel, gives you an idea of how long you want to hold. Okay, the higher the red ones are on the channel, the less you can hold your longs, because it takes more and more aggression and volume to keep this momentum going the higher you get above the channel. So once you get above the channel here, like this, and especially if this is like a star or a green bar, you have to be very careful about holding any further. You want to take most of your profit off at this point, unless you see other evidence that momentum's actually increasing to the upside. And so oftentimes when you trap these red bars like this with the very next bar going higher, this is the capitulation move, and the next orange bar is actually a short. See that? So I'm going a little bit too fast here, but because I'm even confusing myself a little bit. But let me just show you. Let's find another. We saw this short. Let's just see how this short worked out. So what I said was, once it got down here, right? Once it got underneath this green bar and this green bar that was clearly out of position, it got below it with volume, right? I said this isn't necessarily a short, but it confirms that this area up here is probably trapped traders. Trapped buyers are stuck up here, right? So if you can find a place up here to short and you're still bearish, it's probably a good idea. But do you short this? I wouldn't, because they're probably going to try to come back up at it, right? So let's see. Does market even get back up above this low? And it looks like the answer is going to be no. They print another green bar. They try to go higher with a pink bar, and they immediately beat it. So right here, I already know. Here, let me erase the lines here. So right here, I actually already know that we're very bearish, because of the green bars, basically. I know that we're already bearish. We have trap traders above from way back here, right? I'm going to mark them off. Trap traders are these buyers. We got under them. They tried to save it. They snuck up above the high. More buyers got trapped. That's our short, right? And then we developed volume below. What I said here was it's not it's too late to short, or we're too low to short, but we want to stop buying. We don't want to buy when above us are trapped buyers, right? That doesn't make sense. You also don't always want to short immediately, because what you really want is to short up here, or at least on some up rotation, right? We need some kind of a pullback. In my opinion, I'm not a breakout trader. And this is why, is because it's really hard, right? So this is technically a breakout, and it is when I know for sure, it confirms that all these guys are trapped. But what most retail traders do is they sell this, and then they get stopped out, and they miss the moves. And so don't sell it. If you didn't sell this, right? If you didn't take the aggressive sell, don't just short, but stop buying. If you're long, get the fuck out and be ready to short on the next signal. And so in this case, we get what looks like a really strong bar, right? We went lower again. The green bar, green outline says we went lower than expected. And we closed at the high of the bar, even though we went much lower than expected for a bullish move. So somebody aggressively pushed this price higher, and you can see it with the star too. Like, oh, there's all sorts of algos firing off here, right? They needed a lot of energy just to do this little move. And it painted the outline green because it actually went a lot further down than we would expect in this condition. Usually when it goes that far down, you just get a bearish bar. But in this case, they close it higher. And so you have to ask, are the conditions right for me to think that this is some sort of a reversal? Or is it already bullish? We know it's not bullish, and there's been no sign of any reversal. There's no sellers trapped down here. We've not really done anything other than fall. They've had no opportunity to trap any sellers, and all of these buyers are going to get fucked, right? All this is profit taking, aggressive profit taking. And then probably some retail traders buying it. But nobody who knows what's going on in this scenario, when you have trapped buyers above you, are going to aggressively buy with the intention of holding, hoping to get another higher high. Especially when the last higher high on this time frame got crushed, and then got a lower high with high volume, which is what that purple diamond means. So they are clearly trapped at this point, and this is just a bluff basically by buyers, right? So like I said, the very best trade that I have for I shouldn't say best, the fastest way to trade these green and red outline bars is when the very next bar goes in the opposite direction, and you have evidence that you're going that way. So when I see this bar, I know that I'm already bearish before the bar happens. But when I see the bar, I know that if the very next bar is now bearish, I can actually take a short there for a scalp. It's the closest thing I'll do to a breakout trade, because yeah, it means that there's been an aggressive momentum shift, right? They were buying, and now all those buyers are about to get trapped. So that's the fastest response, and it's a quick trade. Aggressive in, aggressive out, and like I said, it needs to be the very next bar going the opposite direction, preferably with another algo signal like a red outline, a red diamond, a star, an orange bar, something like that. The second fastest way to take advantage of these green bars, once you know the conditions, right? The slowest way is just to figure out what the condition is, like getting underneath it with volume, like we said right here, and then identifying that these are all trap traders and we shouldn't buy anymore. That's the slow way to think about it, right? It's really important, and it helps me stay out of, I can't tell you guys how important it is for me to not buy this, and how easy it is when you get so used to just buying stars at lows, how good it feels to not buy it, to know I shouldn't buy this, and to miss out on this short, and instead to know that I'm looking for to miss out on the long that ends up stopping out, and also have an opportunity to either add to my short or get short in this position. Like, you feel like a magician, right? But to do that, you need to be aware of the conditions, and you need to identify that traders are trapped. Now, it's possible that you can see that without all the algos, right? You might be able to just look at the delta footprint and just see that, like, there are, let's see, it's back at like 9 o'clock, right? Well, when was this? Oh, did I just move it? 10:02. 10:02. You may be able to see that trap traders are here on the delta footprint, and that are on the footprint itself, and that's cool, right? This is actually ES, but it was a little more obvious there. But if you can see that, then you're looking at the same thing I am, right? I don't have to interpret this. The algo is telling me, the patterns are already telling me that this was my short, and that the and what you'll see is that it's going to set up again. I'm pretty sure. So that's the short, and then as it comes here, this, like I said, the very quickest way to take advantage of that is green bar up, followed by some sort of algo to the downside on the very next bar. The second fastest, and that's an aggressive in, aggressive out. The second fastest, that's less aggressive, but also can often lead to a pretty big roll down, is when the very next bar is pink or purple, right? In other words, price is moving without any aggressive traders supporting it, and then the very next bar goes the opposite direction. Preferably with algo signal, purple bar is fine. In this case, it's okay. It's not preferable. I would have liked this bar to be have a red background or outline, or have a diamond or a star or some other. Purple is probably the least preferable because it suggests that like buyers are just giving up, and it's like, I mean, it makes sense because they're all trapped, right? But it's hard to sell purple bars when you see them reverse so often. Hold on real quick. And so yeah, it's not our best case to see the purple bar here, but we already identified it was bearish. We see this green bar not producing any aggressive follow through, and so really any sign of weakness here, especially when it tests this zone, right, which we drew off of that other green line from the low to the high of that rotation, the low of the out of position green candle to the top of that rotation. All those guys are trapped, right? So we come up to that point and they test it, and buyers just give up. Like if you think it through, it makes sense. It's just you don't have a lot of time to think it through, and that's why I've got the algo to tell me. So that's a short, and it's an aggressive short, but not as aggressive as when they just flip it over at the very next bar. And as you can see, not surprisingly, it rolls down quite a bit, and you get paid, right? Now, here's the new twist that I've added. Like that, I've known this for a long time, and I've used it off and on as needed, right? Especially in slower markets, because it works in faster markets, but you have to be pretty quick on your feet, like making all those adjustments for when you're bearish, when you're bullish. When it's really fast, you can kind of just scalp back and forth. In my opinion, it's actually a little bit, once you have the algo, it's easier to trade fast markets because you're going to have more opportunities. When it's slow, you really you have to think a lot harder because you can't just use pace to tell you what's happening. So the new twist here, and what I want to know is whether or not I can combine these, is when I get a purple background like this, I can now mark off the candle, the bar range, right? The range of the bar that started the purple background, the very first of the set, however many bars it takes for the purple to go away, doesn't matter. It's the very first one that turned purple. This is now resistance. I should assume that sellers are going to campaign in that area. In other words, if we head back there and we see any signs of aggression, either at that level or just above it, I should probably sell again, right? So remember, in this case, I've already sold here, covered some into a green line, seen this come up, sold again, right? And then coming down through this, I now know right here, I now know that I'm going through a level that will likely be future resistance, right? Sellers are going to aggressively defend this right here, is what that purple tells me. Not just this level, but even the spots above it are going to be aggressively defended most likely, okay? So as we go lower, what does that mean? It means, first of all, I should probably go ahead and take some profits if I haven't already, because the market likes to go back up to those resistances and fill the sellers that have lined up in the order book. And this is something that's somewhat unique to futures, but it definitely is true in equity futures. You see it also in things like crude oil and it just that those ones, it's crude oil and nat gas and bonds. Like sometimes they don't even come back, right? When they get really wild, they won't even come back to test these areas. But the equity futures do a lot. They like to establish resistance, wait for market to come back and fill everybody, and then roll over again, right? So again, do I see this as bullish? And the answer is no. Why? Because my resistance, in other words, my target for any bull trade has to be this range, right? I expect sellers to show up here. So even though, just like with this one, even though I've got strong signs of aggressive buyers, I've got signs that we traded way lower than we'd expect for a bar that closes bullish, right? And we've got people like the market jumped up before they filled all their orders, causing a momentum shift, which is what the arrow says. That's still not a buy signal. It's once again aggressive profit taking. Someone exited their order rather aggressively, and probably retail traders and algos responded with quick buying, right? But I know that just like in this situation where I knew that the resistance was right up here, like literally right above us, once again, whoops, went too far. Once again, when we close this, I can, because of this purple background, I can see that we have resistance right above us. So what am I preparing for? Well, what I'd really like to happen is for us to venture back into that area, turn around and print an orange bar, a star, or a diamond to the downside so I can add to my short or short again if I exited, right? Which I probably would have by this point. Usually I take little 30-point pieces of the market with 1 to 3 contracts, the minis, or else I campaign with micros. Meaning like I take 8 and then take 4 when we come back and then exit 2, right? Like if I'm playing a level, I will do it with micros. If I'm just scalping and trading back and forth, I will often do it with a small number of minis these days. But right here, I'm definitely not buying because there's no scalp here. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to see market come back up here, preferably to the voodoo range level, and then reverse. If it just turns here and gives me a bearish bar, especially with an algo, I can scalp it, but it has to be aggressive. In other words, I need to get out within like 10 to 15 points. Then I would miss out if it goes 50 from here. But the best case scenario for me personally is if I get a pink bar like that with a triangle, and then the very next bar is orange or a star or a diamond, meaning that there's an aggressive shift or an aggressive trader selling the bar. Now in this case we don't get it yet, right? So here we're just hanging out. We have nothing to do. We know that this is still resistance as far as we can tell. We would need the yellow line to get above this high and print a bullish bar that's not pink, right? It's actually the same rules for that for getting over a red outline bar like this. That's the only way we would know that we could start thinking about being bullish, because now sellers are trapped. Well, there are no sellers trapped, and so I have no reason to think that I should be bullish here. If I, for some reason, accidentally did buy this, I'm definitely getting out here, right? This is the very best that I would expect from that, and I would never hold it any longer than 2 bars. Okay, so let's see what it does next. It prints an aggressive buyer into the resistance. Interesting. Okay. And then do we get, there we go. So there's the sell, right? They printed aggressively into the resistance, touched the high of this bar, and reversed with a star and a diamond. It doesn't really get any better than that. I realize that it's at the center of the channel and that we like to see shorts from up here, but remember there's trapped traders up here that we've identified, meaning that the potential for momentum to the downside has increased. So we are definitely selling this. And I'm going to hold expecting this low to get broken because I expect people to, like I said, campaign here. And while this high might get taken out, if it does and it rolls back over again, I will take it again. But my stop in this case, for even if I shorted from way up here, my stop now moves to right above that. Okay, there's no reason to have your stop any deeper than that because that resistance needs to hold. And if it doesn't, I might as well just get out and wait for them to reestablish it, in my opinion. So I'm holding, I'm holding, I'm holding, I'm holding. So these purple and blue diamonds are something that Simon used to use but doesn't anymore, but I really like. They are confusing because they're not always entry signals, but sometimes they are, right? And so he used to use them, and he used them well, but people got super confused by it, so he removed them. The rule is if they show up in the direction of the trend and they're at a location that's already been established to support a resistance, they're a buy signal. In all other situations, they're not, right? So more often than not, these diamonds are not an immediate entry, and when they get immediately beat, and even if they don't get immediately beat, once you trade behind them, then is the only time when you could start really looking for the reversal back in their direction. So, for instance, if we trade under him and then come back up through that bar, that's when I could start to think about getting long if I didn't have resistance here. But in this case, I do. So one way or another, it's still bearish. And they immediately stuff him with a speed trap. So he's totally in big trouble. Let's see. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Okay, sorry. So yeah, we're still bearish. Let's just say that we have got no reason to change our mind here. Buyers start to give up. My eyes are focused here. I want 11,183, right? Right there. So I'm starting to take profit here, especially on a purple bar, because now if they flip it around, we have a trap trade and we have a target that's higher than a bar or two and could be a good scalp if you want to be cheeky about it, right? But it could just keep going down. Now that is a really bearish bar. If they don't immediately beat that purple background bar, we're actually going to see more bears come in. Yeah. So now this is the new resistance and the new point to watch to see if we can get over it. I probably picked a really bearish day. I guess I picked Friday because I can already tell by 10:30, 10:40 Central that things are not going good for bulls. They've been completely trapped 3 times in a row. And yeah, there's no way I'm buying anything here. Right? But you can see that we already had the sign to short and many opportunities to get short pretty conservatively. Okay, so I don't have any reason to be bullish unless we can get a point of control on a non-pink bullish bar above this high, and then it's only to attack this area for a scalp because it's definitely bearish. So they got price above it, but look at the POC. It's way down here, right? So they're aggressive because of the star. There's an aggressive trader in there. He's probably not very big. Okay, there it is. A bar above the high of this purple. So this is the first opportunity where we would start to think that we might see a setup to get long on a scalp. It's not necessarily the low of the day, and it might fail. It's also not an entry, okay? But I'm no longer interested in selling this area. I would have to get all the way up here to sell. So now we want to see if it can curl around and set us up long for a scalp. That's not good enough. It looks like it's just going to go without us. And there's just nothing to do here other than wait. It looks like they're just not going to set up. So it didn't really set up long. I can't take that short. Okay, here's another outline bar. So what's happening here? Let's make sure we understand this. And like I said, see if I need all of these bars, all of these lines, and signals or not. So far, they've been pretty helpful. Okay. All right. So now the red bar. Sorry, guys. I've just got to deal with some. At this time of night, yeah. I end up getting some well wishes at this time of night, so I usually have to do my part as a human as well. So it's late here. So here we've got a red bar, right, which means that it traded a lot higher than you'd expect for a bar that closed bearish, right? It's not an entry by itself, and we want to also identify that it's actually out of position, right? This should be way up here. That's where they exist. That's where they do best, is above the midpoint. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a line here, and if we can get above this line with volume, developing above it, the chances that we trap shorts is higher. So now we wait and we don't do anything, and they may just not even, yeah. So they're just gonna leave it in the dust. And like I said, and that's fine. This is just what happens when you aren't willing to take every single signal. I'm just not aggressive enough to short these diamonds because I know that they don't always work unless they're at resistance. This one just wasn't high enough for me. If it was up here, I would have taken it. Down here, I won't, right? And this one was out of position. I definitely wouldn't have sold it. We didn't immediately beat it, and there's just no signs of that the bulls are trying at all. There's literally no one buying this at this point. Everyone has given up. So as of right now, we'd have to get above that high now to even think about buying. And even if we did, it would be to target this, which is poor risk reward. There's just no reason to buy here at all. It's probably not a very good day. Let me see. So maybe we should find a different day. And maybe we should find a different day because I don't think we're gonna get a lot of great signals for reversals on it because I can already tell, like I said, within like an hour of the open that this is gonna be a brutal day, right? Like buyers are just not even participating. We can keep doing it, but I don't know whether or not it's all that helpful because it's just obvious to me already that it's short. So let's go back to like, well, hold on, what's happening right now? Do we have anything interesting? Good, no, chop, right? Green bar is not getting, yeah, and then green bar followed immediately by red bar basically just means this whole area is choppy. So, and it's Globex. So let's go back to. Let's go back a couple days. Back when it was trading more fairly and where it wasn't so clear who was in the lead. Okay. Oh, did I go way too far? No. Okay. Tuesday. Monday. Far enough away that I kind of don't remember how it went. Would be better too. Let's go back to like a week ago. Actually, let's start at the like after the open because, or at least London. There's London. Okay, we'll do it right here. Well, let's do it. Let's go here where it starts, like the top, so that we don't get confused. Okay, so I'm just gonna cover some of this up so we don't have too much information. All right, so now it's Sunday the 10th. Oh, wait a minute. 10-2, yeah. Sunday 10-2. So let's see if we can have a better idea. Oh, am I not going to have green and red bars here? Hold on. I might have gone back too far. We need to have the green and red outline bars. I might not have printed them to repeat often enough. Let's see when they start. Right there. Okay, so green bars starting to show up right here. We might be missing other things, but let's just see. Oh, wait, I got red bars too. Okay, so red bar. All right, so let's do this again with some, hopefully, more balanced price action. So here we were clearly bearish, right? If we just sat down and started trading this, it's clearly bearish from up here, right? But the channel is pretty flat, if not rising up here. So I would say balanced to bullish. Now, the next thing we ask is this bar out of position? And the answer is it almost is, but it isn't, right? The VPOC is not, it's a red bar, right? So price went higher than you'd expect considering that it closed lower. But the VPOC is mostly above the midpoint. So it might get trapped, but it probably won't, right? So what we would normally do is we'd put a line right there, and we basically say we have to develop volume above that. Okay, so we don't. Nothing to do. Still balanced to bearish. There's other trades, but we're not focused on those, right? There's not a clear winner here, and if it's anybody, it's bearish. There's certainly no reason to think it's not bearish. Okay, this one is clearly out of position, right? So we're going to move this. Now our VPOC is way below the midpoint, right? And so, and again, they traded higher than you'd expect for a bar that closed bearish. And if you look at where it closed, you shouldn't be getting very many red bars down here unless it's really bearish. Well, this move here looked pretty bearish, but you can see that volume has kind of dried up, right? And we're not really going anywhere lower. In fact, this is actually a higher low. So this is a perfect opportunity to look for the trap trade where you get the slower trap trade where you get volume developing higher. Otherwise, if we get an algo signal on the very next bar, it could be a quick scalp to the upside if it's balanced or not, at least not super bearish. So we get it. We get the white diamond going up, and it's also a green bar, which is interesting, right? Because now that one's not out of position, but it basically means we want to watch this low as well. But most likely it's going higher, and I can buy this for a quick, aggressive scalp. My target is in here somewhere for this move, but if I get here, I'm definitely taking my runners off. That's as far as I would expect it to go. Let's see if we even get up there. I don't know if we will. Okay, we get another red bar. Now this one is not out of position, and if I was really trading this, I would actually go ahead and exit the scalp, because what this is telling me is that this out of position bar is failing to get trapped. See how the VPOC is not able to break above this yellow line, this white line. The yellow line's not able to get above it, and when it finally does, it goes higher than you'd expect for a bear bar and closes bearish with an aggressive signal. If you really thought it was bearish here, it would make sense to actually flip and go short, but I definitely don't want to be long. So even if I didn't get my 10 points there, and I'm not going to measure because I don't want to waste the time, it might not have, right? I'm not going to stay long here. That's the important part. And I might not know that if it wasn't for the red and green bars. So we do go lower. Okay, and then we get a sign that we're developing some bearish momentum. So we're going to mark that off. Not bullish unless we can develop volume above that. And then we'd have this to contend with too. It's starting to look like another bearish day. Okay, let's see if that changes. Ooh, we get a speed bar to the upside. That is a well-positioned green bar. Let's take a look and see if they traded underneath this one. Oh, it's got a green bar, or a green line. How nice. They did. So they did develop volume below this, meaning that these traders are trapped. So we really don't want to be super bullish here. It might go higher, but it's not gonna be a high odd situation, although it is a valid trade because we have an apex getting stopped out by one bar and coming back in bullish. And if you see, this one had a purple bar behind it, so that makes this one even better. And this one had a blue diamond behind it, meaning this is support. We traded underneath the support and jump back up. Without the green and red arrow, without the green and red outlines, I would definitely buy this. But with them, I am hesitant. So let's see if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I would usually now skip this, but I would have normally bought it. and that gets totally annihilated. Look at that. So here's an example where identifying the trap traders here actually didn't do me much good, right? We just ripped right through them. And so in this scenario, it's like I did all that work for really nothing, and that's a little frustrating. That the initial trade that worked 70% of the time worked, and my read was, wow, this looks really bearish, right? So there might be something missing here, but because it is getting a little late, so I might have missed something. But as far as I can tell, this suggests that my other signals may be more. But not surprisingly, the trading performance signals might outweigh this old like volume development signal. So with the green and red outline bars. Hold on. Okay. So they rip up higher, squeezes. Maybe there was there. It's the London Open. I'm not sure. Maybe there was like news or something. It doesn't really matter, right? No. Okay, there's a green bar that's totally out of position, right? Way, way, way above this. So what that would tell me normally is this must be really bullish, right? And if we can get below that, then only then, once we get volume below that, could I start to fight it. I also know that this is likely support. And so algos that go off on a pullback into that support level is probably a good place to buy. And this is also likely support. You can see that it's red or pink as well on the background. So if we go higher and pull back and hold that level, it's actually a good buy. So yeah, that was a crazy, crazy setup that Simon would have caught and I would have missed because of using these extra signals. So nothing. Like I said, this is a signal in the trading perform room. The orange one so far above the channel, but it's aggressive. And so I would wait. All right, there's our next red outline or green outline bar. Let's see. This one is out of position. It's got the VPOC below the midpoint. So I would now put my line here. And you can see that we're also approaching this one's low that was also out of position. So very quickly here, we should figure out whether or not it's bullish or bearish. Okay, that one's purple, but we did get volume below it. Let's see if we can print another bearish bar. And we do. So now, what does that tell us? It tells us that all of these buyers from here to here are trapped, right? Is it a sell signal? Not for me. It would be a breakout seller's signal, but not for me, right? I need a pullback, and I want this to hold or to only trade pink bars above it. Otherwise, it can actually flip and go bullish, right? So we wait, and they might just V it all the way back, and that happens. So normally, the other rule I said is once you've traded behind a trapped green or red bar, that I'm no longer looking for counter trend trades. I'm assuming that these guys are trapped up here and it's bearish. That saved me from a stop on the earlier day when we were looking at it. And now here, I'd have to think that I could get good odds to come back up to this point, which is where I really want to short to buy this. It might be good enough for a scalp, but it's pretty damn aggressive. So I would normally skip it. And you can see that they trade back into this area that we would have expected to be bullish support if they bounced here, but it's not. And now they're acting as resistance, which means I might not get filled. Or there's another red bar. Okay, so this one out of position, right? So now this little line comes all the way down here. That's a problem because what I wanted was I wanted to short from up here, right? And what that's telling me is if market gets up there, it's probably not bearish anymore. That could be pretty valuable information, right? I wonder if it's true, but that is the way I've been interpreting it. So now normally that's not yet a signal to do anything. And the question would be is if it flips and goes bullish right after this, if the very next bar goes up with like a diamond on it, should I be buying it? Usually it's a good idea for a scalp. Let's see if it does it. Okay, good. It doesn't do it because I don't really love it because the risk reward isn't very good. We're gonna erase this one because it's really the trap traders I want to keep my eye on, which are up there. And like I said, it's just not an entry for me. I just don't have anything to do here. Okay, we get This is nice. So now we actually get bullish. You can see that this was looking like new resistance. They came back into that level, which we identified earlier, right, as a potentially trapped seller, right? We traded above it. We came back to it, and we are trying to bounce off of it. This is probably the best buy signal I've seen since we started the stream, right? We have now the diamond, which is perfect it's a perfect entry if you're at support. This is clearly support because below us we have trap sellers, right? We have a big move down with increasing volume that's ended with a bunch of pink and purple bars, meaning that sellers are giving up into the lows. We've got a star, meaning we've got some aggression, and we've got another green bar, which means this guy can come all the way down here, and it's really not bearish unless we can develop volume below that now that we've gotten above this purple one. So I would expect this to break above this high, hopefully, and we could actually get a pretty good rip. Let's see. Okay, they might defend it, right? That orange bar is exactly the pink followed by orange after a green bar like this is usually a sell if the higher time frame is bearish. So this is where it gets tricky. My shorter time frame, well, you have to ask which one is short time frame and which one's higher time frame, right? Are these sellers that got trapped down at the lows when we ripped higher, are those guys more important, or is it these buyers who got trapped at the high that are more important? In my experience, there's two things to keep in mind. One, the most recent information is usually the most relevant, okay? And two, if you're unsure of whether or not a level is still gonna hold for like another test, but it's already tested there, there's a good chance it won't, right? If I'm like, oh, we just bounced off that level, is it still support? It's probably not. If anything, it's gonna sneak underneath it or behind it and then pop back up. So in this case, I'm exiting my long, even though I really wanted to get back up to this level. But to short here would be pretty aggressive because to really think we're bearish, we have to get volume under this. And like I said, we have trap traders down there. So I'm guessing it's probably going to go sideways. But let's see. So right here is where we were. This, if you see, this is resistance, and we're getting a purple diamond and an orange bar. So it is a short. It's just aggressive, right? So it probably does go lower, but I just wouldn't take it. Okay, cool. So the support holds, and we get another green bar. Great news for buyers, right? Really good. So now it's bullish until, because we haven't trapped any buyers recently, it's bullish until we get volume developed below that low. Now, the only problem is, where is our target, right? Our target is up in this area, the trap buyers from before. It's probably good enough to buy. See, this one immediately gets beat, but not with an algo, so there's nothing to do. And then here we get confirmation. So if you didn't get in here and you weren't sure, this is clear confirmation that we are probably going to at least go test the trapped traders up above us. Because that's a speed bar and an aggressive trader. And the bar was pink, meaning that sellers are actually giving up way down here. Normally the pink bar is pretty weak, but in this case, just because of the location, after all this chop, and then boom, pink bar, it's like sellers just gave up out of nowhere, right? They realize that, well, they're still trapped is the problem from before. This is what confirms for me that these guys are still trapped and that they matter more. I wasn't totally sure here, and I was pretty sure that it wasn't here. And then this one, I was like, oh, you know what? Buyers have this. And then here, no doubt, buyers have it. I would actually add to my buy here. Might be a little aggressive, but that's usually what I do because I expect to go back to that Voodoo Raiders level, right there. Boom. That's your trade, and you're out, right? I'd try to get filled just below the level that I identified earlier as being important. Otherwise, if you want to be conservative, just get back to the VPOC of the trap trader. So try to get back to this. Yeah, and you get it. Right? Usually it's going to go back to where most of the volume was. Most of the volume in that case was at that point. So they trade to it. They find sellers. In my opinion, it's technically not a short. It's not a setup by itself, but it's definitely time to take profits. The only way to make this a short is if this bar was pink. or if this bar was green. And in this case, it's not. So we wait, see if it takes it out, and it just rolls. Not surprising, right? It would be a very aggressive sell. It's not. It's basically a 50 retrace or a 62 retrace. It's not bad. It's just aggressive, right? And it is at location, because we have the trap traders there. So I don't hate a sell there, and maybe it's a good idea, but it's not something I'm currently doing unless I have a setup like right then and there on like order flow. So I would wait. I'd miss this, but at least I wouldn't stay long. Okay, did we develop volume below a green bar? That's the next question. And the last green bar, we definitely trapped this guy. See that? We got volume above it, which made me anxious about selling into him. But they flushed it, right? So this guy is no longer trapped. Is he trapped? Well, we did trade below it, but not with any volume. It's a purple bar. We did not develop any volume below it. And the very next bar goes bullish. Now, the question is did we take the level back? Well, we took this level back, right? But we didn't take this one. And I'll be honest, I'm not totally sure how to treat this, except for the fact that this was support back here, identified earlier, and this has the diamond that works really well in support, and it's green. So I'd probably go ahead and buy this, but it might not work. Cool. So I end up getting that move anyway. Notice we trade right back up to the low of that previous trap trader, which is why I think they're pretty important. And we try to reverse. Whoops, I went too far. We try to reverse. This one, the question is this identified resistance? The purple, if I didn't have the purple diamond, and I just saw pink bar, orange bar at this point where they're all trapped, I would usually think it's time to get short. The problem is that we've already traveled through this area, and resistance was up here. See that? See that hole right there? That's a problem for me. And it's a new idea that I'm not very good at executing yet, but I see this all the time. We approach resistance, they try to shift volume lower, and they fail a lot of times to continue, and then they roll it over after everyone buys. So let's see if that happens here. We do get what looks like a pretty bullish candle. If I would have shorted that, I'd be out right here. And now let's see if they roll it over, because that's what I've seen usually happens. Once they get to resistance, which is right here, they roll it over. Now it's time to sell big, right? Because this one didn't work, everybody buys this, and this becomes huge, huge. This guy is a great sell, because look, this one did get into the location, right? Now it did not trap, and there's no pink bar here. So without knowing about this trap trader back there, you wouldn't really be confident that it's a sell. If I'm using this system, I don't have a way to get short here. But with the green and red outline candles, I do. So let's see if that's good. It might not be. No stop, and rolls over. Not surprised, right? So I get another scalp. Okay. No red or green bars in any of this. See that? We're not really printing any unusual movements. None of these bars are going farther than you'd expect, considering where they close. So now we got another diamond, which says only buy it if it's a setup and you're at support. Is this support? It was identified as support here. We had this guy that we couldn't develop any volume below him. It should be bullish until that happens. So yes, I would probably buy that. And I don't think I would sell this one. I'd just wait. That's not what you want to see. Okay, so now we are going to assume that it's probably not bullish unless it can develop volume up there. This has probably already hit my first target here, so I'm just going to hold runners, but it probably fails. Wow. They trap behind it, and you have to get right back in again. Okay, because it's another diamond trapping into a diamond. If I would have taken like 8 micros here, right, I do get stopped out, and then I would come back in with like 12. I'll be honest. Like these trap trades work really often, especially when we both have diamonds here. I know it's a little bit risky, but I know that this level is getting campaigned against. See how every time they get under it, they fire back up with volume, the green bars, fire back up with aggression, they get under that, fire back up with volume. It's unlikely that it's going. If it stops, let's put it this way: if it stops, I know I'm wrong now, right? Because this should be the high odds trade, and if it's bullish, it's going to work. When this one fails, it's either just not going to work, or we just are running into a little bit of variance, and that's okay. But I'm willing to take a little bit bigger entry on this one because usually it's going to work. It might not. It does not. Okay, what could have saved me from taking this? Recognizing the red outline bar could shift things, and that it's technically not bullish unless it gets over it. So that might be a new rule. Oh fuck, is he? He's not out of position. He's got his POC above the midpoint. That makes it a little bit stronger. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to watch for this because I would think that this is bullish, but yeah, in this case it did not work. I don't, as far as I can tell. Yeah, so, but notice that I was right that when it doesn't work, it's clearly bearish, right? And I was willing to take the second stop here because I know that when it works, it's good, and when it doesn't, it's done. And it's, in this case, it's done. Now we have traded underneath a green bars low, right? With volume, which happens right here. Now, all of these traders up here that bought are trapped. They're all trapped. And I can just delete everything. And I'm looking for sells back above. Oops, went too far. Back above this. That's where I want my sell to come from. See how we couldn't get any volume below that until here? Oops, I went too far. Here, right? So what I really want is for them to rotate back up and sell out of that zone. Let's see. Okay, that's new resistance most likely. They're usually going to defend this. If it trades higher than that and rolls over, I want to short. You can see that now I'm no longer as concerned about the fact that I'm below the channel. I'm no longer thinking long, and I'm willing to take more aggressive shorts here, but not breakouts, right, to the downside. No. Okay, so here, this one, again, it's a trap trade. It is valid in the trade and perform room. It's diamond into diamond. Everything about this is good except for my filters, right? My filters say, don't you dare short this because you're, or buy this because you actually want to be short right here. So I would miss this, and let's see if that's good or not. Yeah, that's good. See that one, it does, see how it's got that little hole? I don't like this. The problem is there's actually another green bar. This. And he got trapped too, didn't he? Oh, yeah, I did. He sure did, right there. Yeah, that's tricky. So that's a short. Man, that's hard. That's really hard. And that probably means that this is also a sell. Interesting. Okay, so we established volume below both of them, came back up into the lower one, immediately closed despite trading a little bit higher than you'd expect for a bar that closes lower. Probably because it's bearish, right? Let's see. Does it continue lower or does it sneak up there? Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so these two are right next to each other, remember? So the first time they came down and traded into this but didn't quite reach this one, they give you a tiny little piece right here. Come back up, get into the one that was higher, and give you another sell signal with a diamond. Wow. Oh my god, they do it twice. That's so fucking mean. So that's tough, right? That would be a reason not to take that, and that would mean don't necessarily short this either, but maybe short this one. But in this case, it's saying that the trap back in here might be pretty good. This one doesn't necessarily trigger, but in that case, neither does this one. See, this one's got a diamond on it, so we don't really want that unless this is resistance, but I'd say it is. It's old support, new resistance. But maybe you actually need a bar there first. Like, if these two are reversed, it might be okay. But I think the fact, I don't know, I'm not sure about this one. Pretty sure that's valid. It just didn't work. I bet you the next one does, though. So you get, even if you took this 15-point stop, you get to break even here. So that's good. Now, did we get under another, there's a green line right here. Yes, so we got underneath another green outline bar right there, meaning that all of these guys are trapped, all these longs. are trapped now, right? So now, again, I'm usually looking for shorts in that area, generally, and I'm usually not buying, even though this is technically a valid trade to the upside. Let's see if that works out to my benefit or not. And once again, it gets ripped up. So there, like I said, there must be one piece of this missing. Oh, it's a green bar. Did that happen before? Was that other one that ripped all the way up there? Was that a green bar? Let me see. It was. Okay, so the rule then may be once you get volume developed underneath a green bar like this, it's bearish unless you print another green bar. And in that case, it would also be we traded underneath a green bar here, right? And so it's bearish until you get another green bar, which would be there and there. That one works out. And then here, traded underneath those happens here until you get another green bar. Now this one technically was another green bar here, right? Where is this green bar? Way down here. This one's not out of position though. Interesting. Now the one thing I do see is this green bar came right after a single purple outline background. I mean, did we get a green? Oh. And this one? Yeah. Purple outline went away. Purple background went away. Came back with a green bar. Big rip. Okay. Purple outline. Purple background went away. Green outline bar. Big rip. Sometimes you can simplify things just by finding a pattern. Let's see. Do we have another one of those? No green outline after a purple bar stops. Probably going to fail. Green bar. Fail. Purple outline, green bar goes higher. Pink outline, red bar doesn't go higher, right? So it's not a 100%. Oh, but look, does it drop back in and then go? Chop, chop, chop. Nope. Oh, there's another one. Pink outline, red bar. Now, to be fair, this one did not have an algo signal, and all the rest of them did. This one's had stars or diamonds or green bars itself. This one was just a red bar, and this is actually purple, which is not a great place to sell generally. So if it's going to fail, it's going to be on something like this. So pink background, red bar, doesn't really go anywhere. No red bar. Notice we can't get under any green outlines, right? Can't get under this. Can't get under this. Easily break this. Triangle down, green bar, go. So it's bullish. Keep waiting. No red bar, no red bar. Green. Okay, now look how out of position this green bar is. I'll keep watching for that pattern. I'm not sure about it. That green bar is way out of position. If we were long this whole time somehow, right, or any of this, we want to be taking profits now, because now if we get below that bar with volume, it's probably gonna fall. So we get, maybe this is what we need to do, is have a potential trap set. So now we get pink background, red bar with an algo. That's probably a short. Yep. Another one. Pink bar, pink background. Can't talk. It's getting late. Red background bar, right? Bearish unless you get above that. Notice they sneak above it, print another red bar. Super bearish. Like double bearish. Like sell a lot. Right? When this happens, when you have a red bar and they trade above it and they still close a bearish, and you get an algo signal, like, yeah, this is going to work a ton. Right? Okay, did we trade under a green bar, though? Yes, this one. So already we know that these guys are all trapped. And therefore we know that happens right here. And therefore any move up here that has an aggressive seller like this or like this was already known to be a good place to sell. So you really had two opportunities to do it. They trade underneath it. Normally, I would not be buying this. Why? Because you have top traders above. Now, technically, you could trade this as a scalp, as a purple bar star scalp, but it's got a diamond on it, and usually I don't mess with that, right? Unless it's at support, and it's not. So I just wait. Now this is resistance. I want to sell in that area if I can in the future. Another green bar. So this is where it gets tricky, right? Now we have purple background and purple bar, green outline. We've seen from this back test that this usually rockets. Where is it going to go? Back up to these trap traders? Maybe that's not a bad thing. And it fails. So clearly that doesn't work out. Oh, and there's no algo. It's pink. There's no algo aggression, I mean. It's an algo signal, but it's not an algo aggression. It's not a sign of aggression. Just like this one that didn't work was... This one just got crushed. There was one that was purple. Where the fuck was that? This one. Immediately beat, right? And then became support, right? So let's see. Does this become resistance now? Oh shit, I went too far, sorry. So, pink, purple background, pink bar with a green outline. That support cannot break with volume below it, otherwise it's very bearish. They do pink bar up, purple up. That's usually a short. Right into resistance, right? Aggressive short. They can't get any... See how they can't trade any... Oh, they did. They got one tick below the low. 2 ticks, maybe? And printed a POC. Okay, so... But once again, we get purple bar, green bar. So this one should be resistance. This should be new resistance. But we've seen that sometimes, purple bars, purple background, followed by green outline bars with algo signals is usually a pretty good buy. Let's see. But like I said, trading into resistance, I wouldn't take it. Let's see if I should be. Wow. Okay, so there's clearly something here, right? It's just a matter of figuring it out because that's like the 4th time that's happened. So it looks like normally the logic works, and then there's every once in a while where it doesn't. Do all these times have purple bars? Let's see. Well, this one had a purple bar. So it's not just that. This one had a blue arrow. It's not that. This one had volume. Could be that. It's green, so they've developed volume back above the purple bars. Did it close above the purple bars? Oh. It's pink, and they can't close above the purple bar with a non-pink bar. This one closes above the purple bar. Okay, let me check the other ones. Pink bar. Once it closes below that, it's bearish. You wouldn't necessarily know here. But this one, for sure. Okay, that's a little bit... See, this one, you wouldn't know. It's like it didn't close below the pink bar, I mean. It did close below the pink bar's VPOC, did it not? Yeah. So did this. And I guess this one did go somewhere. Hold on, let me purple, or let's see. That one's in the middle. This one's way out of position, yet it still didn't get taken. Very bullish. You know here. But this was very bullish. For that not to get beaten. Okay, so this one doesn't work. No purple bar. That's interesting. No pink bar, I mean. This one doesn't work. It's a purple bar, but this is not pink. Okay. This one did work, and this is not a purple bar. But it did close above a purple bar's VPOC not far behind it. Did these ones have pink bars anywhere? That might be what it is. No pink bars to beat. Or purple, I mean. No. So, oh, the pink bar's down here. And they can't beat it with the red bar. Interesting. Okay, hold on. Let me back up a little bit further. This one, they do close above it. This one, they do not. Look. This is a purple bar, 2 behind it. They do not close a green bar above it. And so once they get up there, it rolls. It doesn't mean it's not going to go higher. It just means it gets stuck. Okay, so it's like this. Green bar above purple bar's VPOC. Like I said, once you can make it into a pattern, it makes it much easier. This one did not have a purple bar anywhere in this whole rotation. It is pink, but none of these were actually purple bars. And it just lifts like crazy. Oh, this is a purple bar, I guess, but it's way back here. So this one's still an anomaly. It traded under this green outline bar. Printed again and just fired. I don't know. That, like I said, that one might have been on news. I'm not sure. Okay, so 1 does not fit the pattern. Keep going here. Oh, then I went too far back for the red and green bars. Okay, we'll see if we see that again. We're going to watch for that. It'd be a very easy adjustment. Let me erase the lines. Higher. Did we get here? No, we're right here. Okay, so closes above the purple bar's VPOC, even though it didn't get above this. Right here, it pulls back and jets. So it got below this one by like 1 tick maybe, saves it. Okay. Do we get volume above this? No. It's going to roll over, right? Red bar, algos. Ooh, pink bar is way down here. I don't know if this counts or not. Let's see if that makes it bounce. No. it just rolls right through it anyway. Oh, and plus the pink is way back here. It's not here. So these trap traders mattered more. They got trapped. Okay. No green or red, but it looks bearish. Okay. Finally get a green bar back near support. We didn't trade below any green bars. See that? Green outline bars. So the question is do we have risk reward to trade back into the trap traders up here? And I'd say we probably do. We closed above the purple bars VPOC. Let's see if this one matters. I don't know if it does. But I think it's going higher. Nope, doesn't. So it needs to be like within a bar or two. Otherwise it doesn't really matter, it looks like. Okay. Yeah, see, they tried to hold this, but there's no green bar trapped. It's just a star getting trapped, so it's short term. Like one aggressive trader doesn't move the market, but when the green bars get trapped, yeah, big things can happen. Notice they just can't get it any higher, and we print 2 orange bars in a row. Like orange bar, try to break it, orange bar, big aggressive buyer, and then rejection. Like that's a problem for buyers, usually. Oh, did we finally trade? Look, we trapped sellers below. Did we trap this one too? Yep. So sellers should be trapped. That's interesting. There's a good chance that we actually go higher here. And the question is do we trust this enough to buy one with a diamond? Is it support? Because it used to be resistance. Probably. But like I said, I don't know. That looks pretty good. Yeah, because volume's now shifting higher. Yeah. So you got to really be aware of those little nuances. Like even though it's so high up, it's just they looked really bearish, right? When things start to look really bearish, and then those bears get nothing for all their effort, and in the process of looking bearish, you actually print some aggressive traders. If there were big sellers below that, they're getting trapped, right? So that's why this helps, is so that I can even think about not being bearish here. Like I said, I didn't think about it here, but technically I should have known that this can't be a short because the VPOC got above this. See that? So it works in the opposite direction too, right? We talked about when it's like the buyers are trapped. Well, now all of these sellers are trapped. All of these guys from here down are all trapped. So that old resistance becomes support. The problem is you need an algo signal to enter. So I can't just buy it, right? But I should know not to sell this even though it looks bearish. Right? Like that looks bearish. And it does get you your risk off. But this is actually your first. I guess you could buy this, but it's pretty scary. But it's like, it's at a key level. It makes sense. They trap underneath that, come back up. Oh, and because they have the star here, the diamond becomes a good... See, even I get confused by the diamond sometimes. Yeah, if you have support, it's good. It just doesn't look like support, but this aggressive trader buying it and then getting underneath that and coming back up with another one, another star, when you have a diamond, it actually makes it better. So, yep. And then that one's where it's like, oh, wow, they're shifting volume higher, even though you have all these signs of aggression to the sell side. They're probably going to go higher, and they do. And so you can't sell that, right? Because the shorts are still trapped. So we need a red outline candle before we even think about selling. And even then, it's like, it's probably going to get beat. So let's see. Keeps going higher, keeps going higher. Yeah, I'm not doing anything there. Or are they just going to... So, okay, there's a green bar. Good. Finally, we get one. Like I said, this would be... There's no algos here, so there's not like... It's like they gave up here, and then they didn't aggressively attack it. It's weird. So now, whoops, now we need to keep, whoops, we need to keep it above that. No volume developing under that. Otherwise, we're in trouble. That's not what we want to see. That's a really powerful bar. So is that. They're like, I don't care. We're going to buy it. Okay, so there's our red bar, right? So now, like I said, the new rules... Oh, I forgot. This got traded below with volume 2. Right there. That makes this less good, I think. Because you should expect this to act as resistance, and it sure does. Took 2 tries, now you get a red one. That's probably big trouble. Not bullish unless it gets above that. Now the question is what do we do when we get back to these trap sellers? Do we start to balance there? Does it not work because of the trap sellers? Let's see. Wow. They just rip it higher. This is that pattern, the purple with the triangle, and then immediately bounce back with the algo. That's a really, really strong signal to buy. So as long as it's bullish, and it most certainly was, right? We had a red bar. We did not get under a green one. You'd think it's bearish here until right here. So you got to be ready to flip if you trade that. It is a little... Wow. And see, when everyone thought it was bearish, that's when they fire it higher. Okay, look at out of position green bar. It's got to keep being... They have to keep the momentum up. Otherwise, they're going to get trapped. That's not bullish, right? The very next candle goes in the opposite direction with an algo. That's usually a scalp to the downside. And then I'll get out right there, right? Just try to get 10 to 15 points. And then wait. Now notice, once again, they did not get volume. The yellow line did not get below this low. So any algo signal to the upside is probably a buy, just like this one was. Yep. Trending up, right? That's how you trade momentum. Okay, that's nothing, right? That's you. I mean, it's not nothing, but it's okay. Let me show you. So because we've got these pink outlines, and we can't get any volume below them, it means like buyers have the shorts by the short hairs, you know? They're not going to get any further than this most of the time. Okay, now they finally got the red outline bar. Now they have a chance, right? But it could also just balance. It's clearly not bearish if they can get volume above that. But I'm no longer going to stay long. But I'm ready to jump back in if they can flip it. It's just that it's way high up. So it's probably going to retrace a bit. Is that all they're going to get? Is that support? It's a buy if it's support. I don't think it's support. I don't think it's touching support. I think I wait. Ouch. Yeah, anyone who bought there is in big trouble here. Are they going to take it? They take it, right? So this is the low of the green bar. They get volume below it, and suddenly all of these guys are trapped. Did they come back up for the short? Don't buy that. Now I want a short to set up. I guess you could buy it if you want to scalp. It should roll over. That's the short. Diamond at resistance. We got volume below the low of this green candle. These guys potentially are all trapped if they can just push this lower. Does it fail? I turn one more time. No, stop. You definitely don't want to buy this now because of this. Right? That sign of getting below this guy is a way bigger sign. It's a sign that this entire area is resistance. And especially with the diamond there, that's dangerous. Does not stop. Oh, it might stop here. That's not good for sellers. Because this established support, and now we're coming back in, establishing volume higher. Probably going to go higher. Let's see. They don't stop it out, and they print another red bar. So now it's technically not bullish unless it gets above that with volume. And finally they rolled over. Nice. Okay, so that did work. That did work. Okay. The way it used to. Like I said, sometimes it's just flipping over. I haven't tested these for a long time, so I wasn't sure if the rules still work. Sometimes they clearly do. But sometimes there's definitely something to adjust here. I'd like to know what it is. That should be resistance. It's not technically a short yet, but if it can come back to that area and turn around, that would be good. Okay, so I'm not buying that. That's a sell. Yep. Okay, new point of resistance, and they traded right over it. The purple bar has gotten beat, the VPOC of that purple bar has gotten beat by a green candle. This should be a major move higher if that pattern continues. Yes! Yes, it is. Okay, so I think that usually works. That's pretty neat. Back into the trap traders. They reverse, no algo signal. Nothing for me to do, unfortunately. I just missed that one, right? Now, I need to remember that it's probably bullish if they can hold that. If it immediately turns, short. Probably bullish. Probably would not have a chance to buy it. It might be choppy, right? Because yeah, we'll see. We're still in that resistance zone. We haven't beat any red ones, so technically you could short that. It's probably going to chop around a bit. Nope, they got VPOC below. So I'm not buying this. It's also not green. Okay, now we got a green bar. Experience says that this is probably bullish unless they immediately beat it. So now, while I was looking for a short up here, I'm now kind of on hold unless they immediately beat it, or else print a pink bar followed by an orange bar or a start out. Oh, start out, perfect, sell it. Scalp to the low side, to the downside, and we're safe, and it works, and I'm already out of the scalp right here. Yep. Okay, back to support. Did we trade under a green bar? Yes. Not develop volume. Is this support? Yes. Did we get a close above a purple bar with a green outline? Yes, that's a buy. Whew, that was close. That was close, and look at it go. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so I think the moral of the story is I'm definitely keeping these, but I'm gonna have to review this and see if that pattern continues most of the time. It did fail once, right? Okay, let's do this one more time. Pink bar. If you beat it with a red or pink background, if you beat it with a red one and they don't get above this, it's bearish. Oh, they get above it. That's a buy. Yep. Okay, pink bar is way down here. Right? That's a pretty hard one to beat. You could scalp it down to here. Otherwise, I'm probably chilling. But this could be the top. There's no pink bars to identify where it's going to go. I'm still not sure what to do in this situation where you got this big move up here with no pink bars at the top. I think you just wait. Because, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, finally we got a green bar. So now, bearish. If we develop volume below that, because then he can get trapped. Nice. Pink bar, pink background, red outline, short immediately, hold runners. Fail. So if it's bullish enough, it will fail. Okay. Good to know. Guess I missed something here. It's got a diamond, but it shouldn't matter because it's at resistance because of this. It's obviously pretty bullish. End of the day, it's the end of the day, last hour of the day. Like I said, it's not going to work 100% of the time. But yeah, I'm not going to short this one, even though I want to. The only thing that makes this not a short is that we have not traded below this. And we really should expect this to hold. They just cream it, you know. Okay, no pink bar, but red bar, so definitely bullish if it can trade up here. Technically bullish as long as this doesn't lose. Hard to short that. Yeah, because I don't think that's the right move. Now we have it. So now we've traded up above it again, right? So the shorts just keep getting smoked is what's happening here. This one's no support. Yeah, they bounce right off support. Finally, we get a green bar. Erase the lines. If we can, now that's way out of position, way too high for that anomaly to happen, where we trade so low that you wouldn't expect it to trade higher, yet it does. But it's not bearish until you get volume develop below it. Okay, this is interesting. We get pink background, pink bar, but no red bar, no red outline. Wait. Oh, another green one. See, I don't know what to do in this situation, if it's this one that matters or this one that matters. I'm not actually sure. Curious how this turns out. Red outline after a pink bar, no pink background. This should be support because it's got a pink background. This might be worth a scalp, you guys. It might be worth a scalp because if we can get through those green guys, it's gonna chop and then roll over. I think it's worth a scalp. So you get out at the purple bar and you wait to see if you can get a bearish bar below one of these. And you don't. And it keeps going higher, I guess. Oh, that's interesting. Pink bar, red outline, at resistance with a diamond. I might be willing to get back in there. It's not ideal. I would have liked it to trade just a little bit higher than this. Oh, we get volume below one of them. Can we get volume below this one? No. See, I don't know what to do in this situation. Pretty sure you just wait. But I don't know whether or not I want to short with big size when it goes back up again. I don't know. Right there. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good short. It does not trail. It does not get trapped the diamond, but it does print an orange bar, star, and a diamond right where there's another diamond. We have traded underneath one of these. I'm guessing we're going to trade into this one. Let's see. Red bar. That's great. Yeah. Okay, not bullish now, unless it can trade above this. We did get a VPOC below this, so it's definitely bearish. Wow. Cool. Okay, no purple bar. Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, green. Okay. Purple bar. Green outline. It's right into resistance though. See, I don't know what to do about that. Pretty sure. I mean, it's obviously bearish again if we can get it below that. I think you just hold off here unless it goes immediately lower. It goes immediately lower. Yeah, so it's just screwed because these guys are all trapped. It's probably not going to set up anyway. I don't think I would trade that because it's purple. What I really want is a little higher than roll over, but the green bar kind of gets in the way. It's going to have to set up another way. Yeah, it just doesn't set up right. No purple bar here. I don't think you can do anything with this. Pretty sure you just wait. Or stay short if you're short. Pretty sure. What? Back up to resistance. Okay, I guess that makes sense. There's a big space here before resistance. So they establish volume higher with high volume. See that? Rip it up to resistance. Pink bar, star with the diamond. Is this resistance? Yes. Short. Big. They took 2 tries. Short, big again. That one works. Yeah, okay. So obviously it's not going to work every single time. Now that's interesting. It didn't get down to here, but it does have a diamond. Does this one go higher? Yeah, see, you're able to get that area here just by scalping these moves. Wow. Green bar, green bar. Can they trade below it? Nope. Bullish. A little late, but see, I want these to trade a little bit lower, but it's interesting when we immediately beat these purple background bars, the bars in the purple background, when we immediately get above that, and it's already been established as support, even if this isn't purple, oh, fuck, oh, but it's not green. Even if this isn't green, did we not trade below any green bars here? We didn't. And this was so green has not been traded underneath. Yeah. So you can be bullish down here and bearish up here. It's basically balance. And that's bullish. Let's see. Trade underneath. Right. Nope. There. This one got traded underneath. Does it come back? Oh, we get another green bar. See, this is where it gets tricky. Got another green bar. Comes back up there. Doesn't even set up. No stop, no setup. Trap back in. Nope. Okay, green bar's way up there. Needs to get below that to even think about shorting. This is support. That's a buy probably. Green bar would be better, but yeah. Not touching that. It's too risky. Does get a scalp. That's a buy. Oh, red bar. Okay. Red outline. Bullish if it breaks above here. Not coming out to... I'm probably waiting. Yeah. Yeah. It's just going to chop. What time is it? Oh, yeah. It's the middle of the night. Chop, 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 chop. Green bars. Green bar. Nothing. Okay, let me see what we're doing right now, and then we'll probably end the stream so I can get some sleep. Trend. Okay. Chop, 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 chop. So, from the right, we have green bars developing. See, like I said, I don't really know what to do when they're lined up like this. It seems like the trading's harder, trading against that. We did get this sign. Purple bar, purple background, followed by a green bar. It's consistently gotten us back to resistance. In this case, it's up here. This is pretty bullish. As long as we haven't traded under any green bars with volume. Is this one safe? Oh, barely. But yes. And did this one get beat? Not with any volume to upside. No. So they might just be chopping it in this little area. There's really not a lot to do here. Oh, look. They trapped under this guy. So this one got trapped here, and then they got another green bar coming right back out of it. We saw that pattern a couple times, and that creates a scalp up to resistance. Lower high. Test below this one. See, they could actually be moving their way down. with lower highs, but it's balance. Unless there are trapped shorts below us. Let's double check. Ooh, trapped short right here. So he got trapped right there. Pulled back. Oh, then we got another red bar. He got trapped right here. What we want at that point, pull back into support, get a buy signal. Green bar, purple bar, right there. Oh, but it's got a diamond. Is it support? It's support. Support established, support confirmed. It's probably okay. Yep, that's cool. That's cool. So I guess the answer is I'm going to leave them on my chart for now. I'm going to try to use them a little bit more. I'll try to mark them off in my live streams and keep track of them. It's a lot of things to watch. That's the only problem. It's just a lot of signals, and it'd be really nice to be able to take some off. But that trade sets up really big when it's purple bar, purple background, green outline, or pink bar, pink background, red outline. See, when it's not a pink bar, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It can just... you can just keep going, but if it's, see if I can find another one of those recently. Scalp, see, a scalp. So even just purple background, green bar. Oh, here. Traded above, back to resistance. It doesn't necessarily have to be the first one, but it's better. Here we go. Oh, no red bar. Yeah, purple, purple. Even though this isn't a green background, it's got a diamond too. I probably would not have bought that. Too bad. Too aggressive for me. Nope. Nope. No. Purple bar's way up here. Just a scalp, if anything. No. Uh-oh. Here it is. Pink background, pink bar, red bar. You'd think that'd go to support. Where's support? They trapped a red trader. So if the sellers are trapped, you'd expect this. It doesn't have an algo signal. You'd expect that to be a short. They trade higher than it. You'd expect this to be a short. Interesting. End of the day? No. What happened here? Out of position, got higher than him. You want it to come back and set up bullish. Oh, I'm thinking about this backwards. It's that late. You want to be getting bullish or getting long. So got trapped. Yeah, wait for the diamond, not support yet. Now long. Yeah, okay. Good. I was to say, what the fuck? So now the problem is when you get another red one, he gets trapped. Pull back into it, looking for longs. And it just doesn't set up until way back here. That's not good because you're underneath old support, which is now probably new resistance. Oh, no. No, yeah, up here. I mean, it's not horrible, but did you get under green ones? Oh, yeah, see, there's no green ones, so it's okay. That's just purple underneath green, so that's probably okay to buy. Yep. If they come back to this level, that's probably okay to buy right here. A little bit. Purple green bar? Nope. They traded under the green bar. Now you're trying to sell up here. Okay, scalp, but doesn't go anywhere. Better scalp. That's the short. Yep. Okay, I think I see it. I just gotta keep practicing, you guys. It's like I said, it's gonna take a little bit to get used to drawing lines again and all that. But I think if nothing else, just to know where the trap traders are, even if I don't take the scalp with like the green outline followed by a diamond down or star down, like it doesn't always work. So you can get green outline and then star down and it can still rip. It doesn't always work, but oftentimes you get a reversal. Let me see if I can find one right here. Green outline, immediately beat. You get a scalp for 10 points. It's just a scalp. Red outline, bar in the other direction. No algo. Wait for the pullback. You want an algo right here. Doesn't get it. this is the trap trader. You just want to buy off of that level. So here, scalp. Here, scalp. Here, scalp. Here, scalp. I mean, like I said, it's simple. They're layups, right? It's just a system to find more trades and to filter out trades that you don't want to take because there's no one to work off of. You will do better if you know that there's someone trapped. Now, like I said, do you need the algo to do this? No, you can find it. Look, you can find it here. Okay, if you know how to read a footprint, you can find trap traders. They get trapped down here on the red bar right here. Oh no, they get trapped. They get trapped. What time? 1912. They do get trapped here. Okay. They get trapped here. Here, let me erase all the lines. Well, I guess I have to erase it here. Okay, so they get trapped at 1912 down here. These guys are trapped from here to what? There, right? You can see it on the footprint. It's just harder. I mean, it might not be. Maybe it's easier for some people. For me, it's harder to see it, right? And so what's also harder is deciding when to get in. Do I buy this? Do I buy this? I don't know, right? With the algo, it's very clear. Like, I know exactly where the entries are and where the stops are. Here, like, I'd probably have to put my stop down here. And I'd, like, campaign in, like, two micros, 2 micros, 2 micros, 2 micros. And then, like, up here, I'd be, like, out of 2, out of 2, out of 2, in 2 more, out 2 more. Like, that's how I would trade it with it. That's how I used to do the footprint. But here, like I said, I know they're trapped here. So I also know what the algo says is an entries, like entry, right? So it's like 8 micros in, 8 micros out, 8 micros in, 8 micros out, 8 micros in. See how it attacked that? 8 micros out. It's more like 3, 4, 2, you know, and then 8 micros in, out 3, out 3, hold 2. And then if it comes back and it bounces again, I'll buy 3 more, right? That's how I usually do it. Even now, when it's this slow, I will just campaign the level. I mentioned that in the earlier part, that if I'm trading micros, that's usually what I'm doing. And then I'll also do the exact opposite, right? If I've got a trapped buyer up here, I'll do the exact opposite. So it's like, okay, did he get trapped? Yes. Sell this here. So he got here. So those are the scalps higher. He gets trapped when volume, that's not volume, that is, right? Volume gets below him. That's a sell. That's a sell. So 8 micros down, 8 micros sold, cover 3, hold 2, probably don't get covered, or probably get trailed out. 8 micros out, cover 3, right? And I cover 3 more, and hold 2. And if they don't trigger me long, I won't flip, you know, and I'll just keep working that area until I figure out who's heavier, you know. And in this case, if I had to guess, it's probably going lower, but you never know, you know, especially since now it's Europe, so like things can shift rather quickly. But like I said, I've got more tools here because I can also see that this should have been resistance, and this should have been resistance. Now this one, the resistance broke, right? So if they come back out and bounce, well, now they've got another resistance to deal with. So this purple background makes that makes it worse, because now I'm working against resistance. And you don't really want to be working against support or resistance. You want to be targeting into support resistance. So if anything, if it does go higher, it's not going to go high enough to have good risk reward. So I would just exit the short, wait for it to set up there to the short side again, and then short it up here. Hope that makes sense. But yeah, I didn't trade it at all today, but that's exactly how I would have done it, mostly because I was just doing this back test. But after doing that, I'm definitely glad that I noticed this pattern here with the purple background, purple bar followed by green, that is definitely not somewhere you want to be short, particularly when the close of this is higher than the VPOC of any purple bar nearby. But that if there are purple bars above you, you might end up getting stuck up there. And then if there's trapped traders from before up there, they can end up adding to the inventory, to the sell inventory, and push you back down. So let's just see if this sets up for a minute, and then I'll go. But it sometimes into London Open, sometimes we'll get a little bit of speed. So we trapped underneath this green line with a purple bar, and we're trying to come back up, right? So normally if this closes bullish, no matter what it looks like, with the purple bar behind it and then the green line, that's a trap back in. And if it's got a green background and it closes above this VPOC, which it will, it should be a pretty good buy. Let's do it. Why not? If it's red, I mean, if it's green background, let's do it. Again, we yeah. So we might not have good risk reward here, but our low is the low of the our stop is the low of the session, so it's down here. I'll take profits quickly here, 11.025. If they let me, if they give me a little bit of. So my stop is gonna go at like 11.4, like or so. I'm not gonna hold it much longer than that. We are trading into resistance, but like I said, I've seen this pattern work repeatedly, so we're gonna see if we can get it to work again. So I'll take this trade and then we're done. It may not work. The risk reward is not amazing, and oftentimes when you've got orange bars above you or green bars below you, it can cause problems. But if it's balanced, it won't. It's often a sign that if it's orange at the apex up there, it's a sign that that this green bar is not an apex. Let's just put it that way. This orange bar up here is a sign that this green bar is not the apex. See that? So if you're looking for a reason to skip it, skip the longs if you're trading against a rotation where the orange bar was the apex. It's got the flag on it. That if you're gonna skip one, that's the one to skip, because that suggests not only a shift in price but also a shift in volume. And like I said, it doesn't mean it can't work, because we see it work regardless, right? In the backtest, we saw it work very often. But if I had to guess on which ones aren't going to work, it would be when it gets really bearish. And oftentimes those orange bars being at the apex like this, and especially a lower high like this, is often a sign that it's a little bearish. It's just that we've seen this move work for at least 15 points before. So I'll keep taking it until it's not a good idea to take it anymore. I'm not gonna hold very many contracts. I'm gonna take profits rather quickly. So if this bar can close, I'll exit out of half the position. If it can close bullish, I mean, we'll get out of half of it. But you can see that we got a diamond here at this support, and so that makes the support a little bit better. Usually, it basically means that there's like somebody with a big order in here, a big buy order in here, and so they like to come back through them. See how I traded underneath them, and when buyers support that big buyer, like they got under them, and then the arrow is kind of saying the same thing, just in a different way of measuring it. But you're gonna see the arrows on bars with diamonds a lot. Arrow, diamond, see that? And they work very similarly. Arrow followed by a diamond, and this one's yellow, you can see. So this seller was probably around in this bar. They traded behind him, they flushed him. That's why this one worked right away, is because of this arrow. This one, the arrow means it can work right away. This one got a diamond, the arrow means it can probably work right away. Right? This one doesn't have a diamond, and there's no diamond on here. There's nothing to do here. It's like there's a big buyer in here, but they don't do anything about it, which is weird. It's a weird place for the buyer to show up. Um, in my opinion, it seems strange that they'd shift volume up and then he'd be waiting down here. I don't know, right in the middle of the channel, like there's no support, no resistance. Like I don't know why he showed up here, like why there was a momentum shift here, but there was. Um, so this might end up being a problem actually for this trade. This might be resistance. Now that I think about it, buyers were giving up and someone was getting filled there, and he failed. See that? So this guy, although he did trade higher, but we clearly got under this guy, tried to get back, and then got under him again. We're gonna have to get through this VPOC right here. We're gonna have to develop volume above this for this to go any higher. It's not. It's not gonna be able to like. It's probably gonna need some bouncing around if I had to guess. Or we're just wrong and it's just gonna go lower, and that's fine too. You're not gonna get them all right, and it's okay to take stops as long as you're doing it in a way that usually works but sometimes doesn't. And I'm still long 8. Not gonna trade minis live on YouTube. Sorry, I'm gonna trade micros in this situation because there's a good chance I'm distracted and might be not trading optimally. So I'm not gonna take huge size, but I'm gonna pay for some information and see like how often it works in like today's market and like what the trade feels like, how fast it usually works. You get a feel for like what to expect, and it might give me some hints on like what else I might want to measure to adjust these signals. So, and as of right now, seeing that it's not like doing anything makes me think it's probably not going to work, because if this was the pivot, you'd think that they'd trade away from it rather quickly. But middle of the night, 20 minutes to London Open, who knows? I'm going to see some weird stuff. It does look like inventory is pretty short. I will give it that. So if it's going to squeeze, this is when it does it. But I don't know. Why would London buy it? No idea. Doesn't matter. All I know is that this guy was like campaigning this level. They tried to get below him and immediately came back with a volume shift higher and a momentum shift higher. And we've seen this pattern play out in the backtest. So I'm committed to taking it at least until I can be proven that I'm wrong. And hopefully then I can review the ones I took that I thought were good but didn't work, and maybe I can find another pattern. But like I said, if you see something working over and over and over again, especially recently, like like why do all that work if you're not going to take the trade? You know, like you're going to have to forward test it. I mean, I guess you don't have to do it with real money. Like that would be another option. Is if you want to forward test with like a paper trading account, like that's okay. But you're going to have to forward test it to see if it's like even tradable. So the only problem with trading at this time of night, in my opinion, is it takes forever and it's really hard to stay calm in the trade because it just takes so long. And usually in normal trading hours, when like people are actually trading, like that's usually a sign that you're wrong, when like the market won't go to your target. But in the middle of the night, like it means nothing. Or just when it's exceptionally slow, like at lunchtime, same thing. Like you could just sit there all day, all hour, like for the whole hour of lunch, and it does nothing, and then it just hits your target right, like all of a sudden for no reason. So it's, yeah, the less people that are trading, the less you can like use those like pace-based instincts where it's like it feels like it's working. Like no, like not when no one's trading, not in the middle of the night. Because like this could literally just stop like for like one guy coming in and like selling a bunch of contracts, or it could hit my target that way. But I've got my limit. My stop order is bracket, so it's either going to do one or the other. And once I'm in the trade, I'm not bailing on it until I have evidence that it's not. That I actually need real, like the algo needs to tell me to bail. This will definitely be my last trade. I'm like falling asleep here. And like I said, I do have to work in the morning. Figured it's set up, might as well give it a try. It would be nice to start the day with a win. I may not trade the open like I usually do though, because I'm like I said, I do need sleep. I have a 13-hour day tomorrow. Working with kids with autism, it's you need some sleep. And I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about my real job. I'm a therapist. I work with kids with special needs. So I'm not talking about traders being autists. I'm talking about like really like diagnosed autism. In case anyone was offended, I no intent to offend. See how like it looks like for a second that it's gonna go one direction and just doesn't go anywhere. Like that's what the middle that's what Globex is like. And then like it could literally just sellers just show up and whoop, hit stop done. Like that's you literally just almost have to just put in your order and like walk away because it can take like half an hour just to go like 20 points. So I'll trust the algo, but hate that you have to sit here waiting for it. And it's especially frustrating when it gets like within 2 points of your exit and doesn't hit it, and that's like, oh my god, is it just gonna roll all the way over? Um, it didn't get that close though. It's got another 6 points to go. But it's funny when you backtest it and you see like six, white candles in a row. Or white bars. I guess it's Reiko, not candles. I always call them candles. They're technically Reiko bars, right? Or blocks, some people call them. But I still call them candles. But, you forget that, like, that might have taken, like, a long time. On the 20 tick here, I have the zigzag with the time. And you can see that, like, this down wave took 38 minutes. No, sorry, 18 minutes to go 38 points. This up wave took 17 minutes to go 36 points, right? This one took an hour and 40 minutes almost to go 36 points. So if your target is 15 points, like you're gonna wait 10 to 20 minutes. Most of the like you can see these rotations are slow, right? And then I also see like you can look at the like the numbers too, like the range of how high or low they're going. And so, like, if you're going up 46, down 36, now only up 16, if this next one is bigger than 36, it's probably trending down. Nope, it's smaller, so it's consolidating. Then it goes up 36, that's bigger, so it looks bullish. But then we go down 43, so now we're expanding a range. Up 36.50 looks potentially bullish. Down 38.75, it now is starting to look like it's trading in a range, right? Back and forth, almost the same. So you can get a feel. That wasn't a very good example, but like if we scroll to an area where like you see a momentum shift and not just like chop 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 chop, you'll you can sometimes actually see it in the numbers, and then comparing the times as well for like how long can they sustain that move and how far did they go in that amount of time. You can gain some information there, and then you can feed that information to the algo. And the algorithm can give you signals when things change, right? So that's all you need is like a spreadsheet basically. These signals aren't that hard to train to code. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to like read the documents and on like Sierra chart, like read the help files and play around with it a bit, and you figure it takes time, but the first one always takes the longest, and then as you get better at it, you get faster. But you won't know if it works until you do the back testing. So that's what takes the longest time. It's not actually the coding that's hard. It's back testing to figure out if the coding even did anything, right? If the coded algorithm even is useful, and when. That's what takes forever. At least it should, right? You gotta spend some time doing it. And this was like a quick, 2-hour, quick, 2-day back test. It's looks like it's gonna stop. So it's not conclusive, but there did seem to be some sort of pattern there. It looks like they're gonna take me. I don't know. But But you can see how like pace picked up all of a sudden. But now we're only 10 minutes from London Open, so they might just sweep the bottom again. I won't take it again just because I'm tired. But they're going to have to stop me if they're going to take me out, so I'm not bailing on the trade. Stop me or pay me. At least until I hit my first target. If I hit my first target and it struggles, like I could bail on the rest, just because we're coming into London Open. But I don't usually bail until I've at least hit my first 10-point target. And even then, it's pretty rare for me just to like let it go. But this is exactly the kind of situation where I will, where like either I'm going somewhere or there's a new market opening or closing. Like there's got to be some, or like a Fed speaker's coming up, right? Like I will bail on the runners if I'm close to my stop in that situation because I expect them to like run it, you know, in both directions basically. So it's going into London Open, like you might be right, you know, but if it's too close to your stop, like, and you're profitable in the trade, like, you're probably just in my opinion, you're better off not gambling with the. No, I mean if I'm down to like 2 contracts and I started with 8, yeah, I'll just leave it on. But if I let go of 3 and I've got the majority of them still, I've still got 5, but I've like taken 3 in profit, and I've got the opportunity to get rid of the rest of them for like 10, 12 points rather than 15 and 20 and 30 or whatever, like I'll just take it in that situation. Other than that, they're stopping me out or paying me. But it looks like here they're probably going to stop me because they spent a bunch of time up on the top and didn't really go anywhere. So it looks like now that the sellers will get active, but I don't know. I'm telling you that like that pace instinct is not all that helpful this time of day. Whenever they decide to do one or the other, it's just going to happen. And by the time you know what they're doing, like it's pretty much too late. See, they're going to flush it. At least I get to go to sleep. Looks like they're going to take it. It would be very strange to bounce off that low. They're welcome to do it, but I would highly doubt it. Because there should be quite a bit of liquidity down there. But this is the problem with trading London Open. Right before London Open, almost worse than waiting for the Open.
Not filled.
Okay, they got me, and that's fine. So I'm out. $245 loss, whatever. Let's see if they, I don't know, let's see if they immediately jump back in. I won't jump back in, but I'm wondering if they're just going to rip it back up. But what we saw is that when that, in the back test, what we saw is when this fails, that it's bearish. And like I said, we did have signals that it was bearish from way back here, that these guys were trapped. So that was the reason not to be getting long. And the fact that we had the trap traders, the resistance so close to us. It's just that I saw this pattern work so often that I wanted to give it a try. And not surprisingly, they flush it further. So the green bar getting beat by a star is usually good enough for a scalp to the downside. So I could have technically reversed, but not into London Open. Anyway, I hate to leave it at a loss, but like I said, I just kind of wanted to test that out in real time. It's unfortunate that it happened to hit at this. We happened to like get into the actual live trading right into London Open. And I'm pretty sure that's primarily why we're getting like an increased range here. Yeah, that's just gonna happen. But when I go back to backtest this again, like this one will look like a win and this one will look like a loss. And so the biggest difference here that I can identify is that these traders trapped all of these guys, and it just wasn't clear because they didn't get this volume lower than this one, and these were purple. So that's what got me into the trade. But yeah, if I want to be more conservative, I could like even when there's a chance of them being trapped and the resistance is so close, I could just skip the trade or wait for a better entry. Because if this is my target, like getting the same entry lower, if the rate of being right is like higher than 60%, which it appeared to be at least in the 2 days we looked at, then you need better risk reward so that when you're right, you get paid well, right? So that's the other side of that is like you'd have to accept that you might miss a small trade, but realistically, where is this going? Probably here. So if it's good for 30 points 20% of the time, but good for 15 to 20 points 70% of the time, like it's not that it's not a good trade, but it might not be the best choice because you could just wait and it might set up again and give you a chance for like a 50-point trade, right? And if it's still good 70% of the time for 20, like, and you're gonna get paid 20 most of the time, like that's probably a good idea. So anyway, I'm heading to bed. I hope this was interesting. I'm taking some notes, and we'll keep an eye on those outline candles and see if they continue to be useful. So far, it looks like they could be as long as I remember to track them and their lows and highs. So I